Welcome to Supply Chain Management, an introduction. In this video, we will talk about the second perspective of logistics, which is about the process perspective. We will talk about the 5 characteristics of logistic processes, and we'll do so by utilizing then 2 examples, the corner shop and the bike assembly. So the logistics as a process perspective is the part of supply chain management that plans, implements, and control. First, the efficient and effective storage and flow of goods between the points of origin and the point of consumption in order to meet customer requirements. Let's look at this definition a bit more in detail. So the last part, meeting customer requirements, is actually part of the definition of logistics we discussed in the previous video. You see here, we go back to the fact that logistics is not just about transportation, it's about the flow of goods, but also about the storage of them. And again, we have about the point of origin and consumption, so from suppliers all the way to end users. A logistics process has 5 characteristics. The first one is that it includes suppliers and customers, and here are in these green boxes at the 2 edges. The supplier also provides input, and then through a set of transformation activities, this input will result into an output, which is then the product that is delivered to the customer. One key characteristic of a process is that a process needs to be repetitive, needs to occur over time, multiple times. And this is an important characteristic because it separates a process from a project. It differentiates the two. A project is very effective, can get something done. It looks similar, has a set of activities similar to a process, but it's meant to occur only once. And there's a big difference because if you repeat an action over time, then you can also start optimizing this process so that it is shorter or that it costs less. Let's look at an example. We have a corner shop that makes coffee, and let's say they have your friend will be the customer that is looking for a cup of coffee. The input from the corner shop will be a kettle to boil water, right? The water, therefore, coffee, and a mug. The transformation activity consists in boiling the water, adding coffee to the mug, then you can add the boiling water to the mug. Maybe we would have a 4th activity like stirring all of it together. And there comes the output, which is our cup of coffee that is then delivered to the customer, which is your friend in this situation. Now, let's look at a second example here, more specifically about a bike assembly. I'll show you this video. As you watch this video, try to note down what you see can be the inputs, what is the output, and what are some of the activities that you see in here. As I said, now that you've watched this brief video, try to jot down what you saw that could be the inputs to this process, what is the output, and what are some of the added value processes that you identified. And bring it to class for further discussion. Knowledge check before we move on to a more logistics specific view of the processes. Can you list the 5 characteristics of a process? You can pause this video as you fill them out. Now, let's look at the process perspective and the definitions of some of the concepts that are more logistics specifics. You see in this diagram that we have suppliers and customers just like before. Now, in the middle, what we used to have the transformation box is here called operations. And the activities are actually production processes. You see what is important here from a logistic perspective is that all the inputs that is shipped from the supplier into the operation, into the factory, this flow of material is part of inbound logistics because it is inbound into the factory. And this is part of the physical supply of the supply chain. Differently, when the product is ready and is being from the factory is ready to ship out to the customer, this flow of goods will be part of the outbound logistics because it's outbound from the factory to the customer, and it is part of the physical distribution of the supply chain. So if you're talking about here the corner shop, we would have inbound logistics of, for example, the coffee grounds, the water, the kettle, right? And then the outbound logistics will be of the actual cup of coffee. You have physical supply here, physical distribution on the other side. This is all part of the supply chain of the corner shop. Notice here at the bottom that we're saying that if a customer is unhappy with the coffee they got, they could send it back, right? They could say to make something different or to change it or add something to it. This return of the product to the supplier is called reverse logistics. So start being very familiar with these terminologies because we'll come back again a few times. One final word I would like you to become familiar with is the fact that all the flows that goes from product, the material that goes from suppliers toward the customers is defined as moving downstream. As you can see, therefore, if the product follows reverse logistics, so it goes from the customer to the supplier, that would be reverse logistics and would go actually upstream, so opposite direction than downstream. So in this video, we talked about the second definition of logistics, the process perspective, and we discussed the 5 characteristics of the logistic processes in 2 examples of the corner shop and the bike assembly. Knowledge check. Can you actually fill out all the missing words here on the yellow boxes in this scheme? Give it a try.